Hello and welcome to Stupid Ancient History with Midgley
and Taylor and our expert, non-expert and special guest, James, Lord High Commander of the Science Cupboard, first of his name and knower of nothing.
Hello.
As always, we're wearing togas, eating olives, and today we're going to look at the first and second Decemvirates. Previously on Stupid Ancient History, we've been looking at the various attempts of the Roman Republic to establish a fair government.
That isn't fair and is rubbish.
Yeah, fair to say that many of their attempts didn't serve the Romans as well as they had hoped, especially not all the Romans. Anyway.
No, the poor people didn't really get a look in.
Well, yeah, but you know, we're not talking Karl Marx here, so just calm down.
And
Fine.
although the initial system of rule by Senate, overseen by two consuls, had some benefits, this lack of plebeian representation was a problem.
Yeah, and it was only made worse by the crippling issue of war debt after the Wars of Independence.
When they just taxed the poor and made themselves richer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
again, all right,
Things
Karl
don't
Marx.
change.
And after the first secession, the Senate conceded and the tribunes of the plebs were established.
Although there was a lot of argument over the powers of the tribunes to actually act against the Senate.
Yeah, and they could cancel each other out, couldn't they?
Yes. Yeah, they did have the power of veto over each other, but they couldn't cancel out the Senate, James, because they were too important.
So the whole thing is pointless.
Yes, pretty much.
So by 454, it seems that many within the Roman government had started to realise there were a few problems with this system.
Don't know what they're talking about, it's perfect. Not a problem with it.
Yeah, and much of this realisation came from the continual demands of the tribune Terentilius, who kept insisting that the plebs be involved in the selection of lawgivers.
Good lad. As he should.
Yep.
But the Senate were not budging on this issue. Eventually, with the election of new consuls and tribunes, the tribunes basically gave up on the idea. And Livy says,
Through long discussion, it had become stale. The tribunes now threw it over and approached the patricians in a less aggressive spirit. They urged that an end should be put to their disputes, and if they objected to the measures adopted by the plebeians, they should agree to the appointment of a body of legislators, chosen in equal numbers from the plebeians and patricians, to do what would be useful to both orders and secure equal liberty for each.
That sounds alright, doesn't it?
yeah, I mean, partly they got bored of arguing.
Well, probably, but, you know, attrition does work sometimes.
Yeah, so I mean, it's clear that they were going to get nowhere with this continual demand from Terentilius, and they were pretty just glad he'd gone out of the way so they could do something different. So they have an idea. It's obviously not working what they've come up with, so their idea is they go and see what other more enlightened states are doing.
Who are they?
The Greeks.
Right, of course.
Shocking. Shocking. The Greeks are not always better than the Romans. I just want to put that out there.
Apart from they are.
They're not.
I don't know enough about the Greeks to weigh in
Well,
on this.
when it comes to this kind of thing, they are. And as Livy puts it,
I don't agree. Commissioners were sent to Athens with instructions to make a copy of the famous laws of Solon and to investigate the institutions, customs and laws of other Greek states.
the Greeks.
Is Solon a person or a place?
Solon's a famous Greek guy
Okay.
who invented democracy.
Okay.
You know, that little thing.
It's not important. So what made the Senate actually decide to change and like give in finally?
Well, it hadn't been a great year for Rome.
Okay.
So as well as the continual wars that had been going on, there was also famine and plague.
Great.
Nice.
Is this famine still caused by the secessions and them not working the fields?
I think it's
etc.?
more to do with the people who were meant to do the work were dead from
Right.
the plague. I mean, even a consul and 4 different tribunes died from this plague.
Right,
So
okay.
it's coming for all of them, and along with, you know, loads of the ordinary people.
But at least no one attacked Rome that year.
So
I mean, you've got to look at the bright side.
So they've finally got war under control, but famine and pestilence
Yeah.
turn up.
You can't do
I mean,
that.
they're still technically at war, just no one attacks them, because, you know,
Okay.
partly because they've got plague. No one wants a bit of that.
That's a good way of keeping everyone out, really.
So yeah, once that had all kicked off, the envoys returned with good news.
Good news! So Livy says the commissioners had now returned with the law of Athens. The tribunes, as a result, demanded that a that a start should at least be made in the compilation of the laws. It was decided that a body of 10, from now called the Decemvirs, should be created, from whom there should be no appeal, and that all other magistrates should be suspended for the year.
So that's the December.
That's the Decemvirates.
Okay.
Yeah. In a nutshell, it's the idea that all the other offices, the consuls, the censors, all those chaps, they're suspended. Do away with them because it's not working.
Yeah.
And for at least until these laws are written, that they're replaced with these 10 elected or selected officials. So this council of 10, the Decemvirs, who do everything.
Are we not going to run into the same issue of them just appointing the people who are going to maintain the status quo?
Absolutely not.
So are you trying to suggest that maybe the plebs should be allowed onto this?
Well, to get a look in, considering this is all to appease them.
No.
It would be.
No.
It would
No.
seem fair.
That doesn't happen.
No.
Right.
Basically,
Okay.
they want a role, but the Senate buys them off by offering them land.
Okay.
So they're using their wealth to their advantage
Again,
to destroy democracy.
I can't keep doing this. All right. So they're planning to get rid of all the guys who are currently in charge.
Yeah.
So the consuls, Senate,
Tribunes. The Senate will stay,
Okay.
but just to be there.
Right. They're just.
They need something to do during the day, don't they? I mean,
Okay. Obviously, you get a
Yeah.
hobby. But yeah. So the other things, master of horse, dictators. That's all been put
Gone.
aside. 10 guys in charge.
Yep.
Who are they?
So they chose the 2 envoys who had come back from Athens because they thought they would have a better understanding of the laws.
Okay. Yeah. They saw them while they were over there.
I think
kind
that sounds quite logical.
of. Okay. Yeah.
In case there's something they've forgotten, like, oh, we forgot to mention this. And the others are either selected because they'd previously been consul and were held in high regard, or they were elected. And generally, they chose older men who were a bit calmer to try and avoid like hot-headed, fiery arguments, because that had worked so well for them in the past.
Yeah. They never row in the Senate or anything.
No.
So they've got all these guys in charge.
Mhm.
There's 10 of them. Is there like a leader?
There is.
There is. So Livy says the presidency of the whole body was in accordance with the wishes of the plebs entrusted to Appius Crassus.
Appius Crassus. Okay. Who's that?
Does he not sound familiar?
All these Latin names kind of merge into one.
Well,
It rings a bell.
His
No
full
Dave, is
name.
it?
His full name is Appius Crassus Claudius,
Okay.
and he's the grandson of the original Appius Claudius.
Was it the nutter who hated the plebs?
Yes, it's the guy who wanted to crush the plebs.
Yeah. Oh God.
It is, and this is his grandson.
Right. Okay. Bet he's gonna love him, isn't he?
Well, doesn't matter because he's got a plan.
So, I'm sorry. This was all put in place to like placate the
The
plebs. And the guy they put in charge is the grandson of the guy who hated the plebs.
Yes.
Did the apple fall far from the tree?
Like I said, this guy's got a plan.
Right, okay.
As Livy says.
So he had assumed such a new character that from being the stern and bitter enemy of the people, he suddenly appeared as their supporter. Suspicious, I'd say. And trimmed his sails to catch every breath of popular favour.
So he's just had a bit of a PR makeover, hasn't he?
Push over.
Massively.
Yeah. Right, okay. This is going to go great.
Now, elections and selections done. The first Decemvirate gets off to a pretty good start.
Okay.
So, yeah, the Decemvirates go to great lengths to show that they are fair and just. And even the use of lictors is quite carefully planned out. So the 12 lictors only accompany the presiding magistrate of the day, and the others simply have ushers.
Okay, so...
These are the guys with the axes.
Yeah, but this magistrate, is that like a rolling
Yeah,
thing?
it's a rotating thing. So
Okay.
there's not one person who's always in charge.
So Appius Claudius, what's his title?
he's just one of the Decemvirs. He
But
doesn't have yeah,
he's just like, he's the leader, but he doesn't have a special title or anything.
no particular at all. And this air of fairness extends to the next major development in Roman rule.
Mm-hmm.
So Livy says, whilst highest and lowest alike were enjoying their fair administration of justice, as though delivered by an oracle, they were at the same time devoting their attention to the framing of the laws. They eagerly looked for laws were at length inscribed on 10 tablets, which were exhibited in an assembly, especially convened for the purpose.
So they've never written these things down before?
Nope.
What's to stop people just making them up?
Nothing. So, yeah, they write stuff down.
Who would ever have thought that?
Hallelujah!
I'm like a kind of phonetic alphabet is commonplace at this point, isn't it? It's not like they're inventing written language.
No, it's somewhere between Greek and Latin at this point. But, you know,
But they have written language.
they have written language. Just they didn't write.
They just
laws.
didn't bother to use it.
Law's not important. Everyone knows what they're doing. So yeah, after a whole bunch of debate, the laws of Rome are recorded on 10 tables. It's
Okay.
literally like 10 wooden boards. And these are displayed in the forum for everyone to see.
So people can actually know what the laws are and what their rights are, etc.
Yeah,
So
radical stuff.
how many people can read at this point, though? Are we assuming plebs can't or something?
Livy does not go into any detail.
Right,
We
okay.
get the idea that someone would read them out and everyone would be like, oh yeah, that's what that one says, and that funny squiggle means I can keep this chicken.
Yeah.
But obviously, this was not a whole job done.
Mm-hmm.
It's the start. But as Livy then pipes up,
After their confirmation, the feeling was generally that the 2 tables were still wanting. If they were added, the body, as it might be called, of Roman law would be complete.
so they wanted 2 more tables. They've done a pretty good job. 10's a good start.
We want 12.
There's a few bits left. You know,
Okay.
mostly kind of protecting the plebs, that kind of afterthought.
Again, an afterthought that was the whole reason this thing has happened in the first place.
Yeah, but it's just the plebs.
Yeah, they're not important. So they've kind of written these 10 laws. Well, 10 tablets, whatever. They're agreeing to give the plebs another 2.
Yeah.
So it's going worryingly well. I don't trust it.
Yeah, you're heading in the right direction. In fact, the first Decemvirate seems to have been so successful that rather than disband them, the Romans decide to keep the system
Okay.
because it's going so swimmingly well.
Okay.
And Livy describes the situation like this.
The plebeians have learnt to detest the name of consul as much as that of king, and now as the Decemvirs allowed an appeal from one of their body to another, they no longer required the aid of their tribunes.
So it's all going lovely. So the next decision to be made was who should make up the second Decemvirate.
So they didn't just continue on. They've disbanded these original.
Disband them, start again.
Yeah.
Can't have someone in power too much.
Mm-hmm.
And interestingly, at this point, it seems that the Senate and the patricians, who were more worried about their kind of liberties, so it's shifted basically.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, so they think that because Appius Crassus is now so popular with the plebs, he might start drifting down this little road towards tyranny.
They're obsessed with this. They're actually just mental.
Yeah.
So is anyone's
That guy
popular.
built his house on a hill. Tyranny.
Get him!
He saved us from an evil enemy.
Get
Tyrant. He won a war.
Get him!
Yeah. Well, so to make sure that this paranoia doesn't actually come to fruition and doesn't come true, what they do is they put him in charge of selecting the next Decemvirs.
Right. So he picks the next 10.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So they thought surely he wouldn't be arrogant enough to select himself.
Why wouldn't they just make that a rule to begin with? So I'm assuming then he does pick himself.
He selected himself.
He does.
Sorry. So what happened then? Did they call him tyrant? Did they do anything about it?
Well, he just selected himself.
I've picked myself. You should have been more clear about the objectives.
I found the best person for the job. It's me.
It's at this point, though, that Livy reminds us that Appius Crassus has pretty much just been putting on an act for the last year, and now his true character comes out.
Is this like it was you all along,
It's
Scooby-Doo
Scooby-Doo
mask
moment.
off sort of thing?
Absolutely, and it seems all the scheming has been going on well before this next selection. As Livy says,
So they held private meetings daily, then armed with plans hatched in absolute secrecy for exercising total power. They no longer bothered to disguise their tyranny, but made themselves difficult of access harsh and stern to those to whom they granted interviews.
Right, okay.
So, I mean,
they've given up the pretense that they're good people now.
Yeah, no. I mean, not only has he selected himself, but Crassus has now also appointed 9 other basic minions, people
Yeah.
he's been grooming for the job. And if the Romans thought the second Decemvirate was going to go like the first one, they soon had a nasty surprise.
Right, okay.
Over to Livy.
So at the outset, the first day of their government was marked by a demonstration which aroused great fears. For whereas the previous Decemvirs had observed the rule of only one having the fasces at a time and making this sign of royalty to go to each in turn, now all the 10 suddenly appeared, each with his 12 lictors. The forum was filled with 120 lictors, and they bore the axes tied up in the fasces.
Right, so they're not even trying. They're not hiding it, are
No,
they?
they're coming out with lots of armed guards, which is
Yeah.
never a good sign for a democracy.
Not really.
But it gets worse.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
Livy goes on then as far to say,
They presented the appearance of 10 kings, and many fears were entertained, not only by the lowest classes, but even by the greatest senators.
Right, okay. So everyone's got to be angry at this.
angry and scared.
Yeah. Do they do anything?
Oh, well, yeah, the usual kind of tyrannical things, expelling Crassus's enemies, holding unfair trials, taking stuff, that isn't theirs.
So
All that
they
kind of
are.
stuff.
I mean, I noticed I think the first reading, Livy used the word tyrant.
Yep.
They are just being tyrants,
Yep.
aren't they?
Basically, yes.
How do the Roman people react to this?
Usually by being attacked with axes.
Right. Okay.
Obviously, things go very badly for any rivals or enemies of Crassus, or also now his little minions. But before long, the Decemvirs really start kind of turning on the plebs.
That wasn't them turning on the plebs already.
Oh no, there's more.
Wow.
Livy?
So he says the leaders of the Senate hated the Decemvirs and hated the plebs. They did not approve of what was going on, but they thought that the plebeians deserved all they got.
What have they done?
Nice, isn't it?
What have they done?
They're
Not a
so
lot.
evil.
Oh yeah. What? Why? I understand them not liking the Decemvirates, but what have the plebs done to deserve their hate?
Not a lot.
Yeah.
Right.
They were
Okay.
just there.
That just seems rather
Yeah.
unfair.
Just very snobby, isn't it?
And you might be thinking, hang on, didn't he write some laws down to protect them?
Oh yeah, those 10 tablets.
Yeah,
Oh
well-
yeah, but that bloke was in charge of them though, wasn't he?
Yeah, so the 10 tables are still a thing, but after a year, the Decemvirs do add 2 more tables to this.
Is this addition to the 10 or did
So
they already add the 2?
They add another 2.
So they're up to
So they're up
14.
to, no, they're up to 12.
Okay, so they had the 10, but so when they talked about adding the 2, they never got round to it.
And now these guys have added it.
Right, okay.
But I mean, these are more things like to protect the patricians, like no marrying plebs.
Weren't the other 10 to protect the patricians?
Yeah, but I mean, theoretically, they've done what they should have done. They've outlived their usefulness now.
Mm-hmm.
The Decemvirs have come up with the 12 tables, which should mean there's no reason to have the Decemvirate anymore.
What was the plan? Once this was done, they go back to a console
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Yeah, but obviously the members of the Decemvirate were not in the mood for having elections or stepping down. What a shocker!
No. And around about the time when candidates would normally go into the forum to try and gain support for any kind of upcoming election, the Decemvirates, well, they did go into the forum, but
They were accompanied by an escort of young patricians who crowded round the tribunals, mistreated the plebeians and plundered their property, and being the stronger, succeeded in getting whatever they had taken a fancy to. They did not stop short of personal violence. Some were scourged, others beheaded, and that this brutality might not be unjustified, the punishment of the owner was followed by confiscation of his effects.
Wow. So they've just gone on a bit of a rob.
Rampage.
Yeah, they've just got a bit of a rob and a rampage, taking what they want, doing what they want.
vote for me or I'll behead you.
Yeah, I mean, I know we joked they're very quick to scream tyranny, but this is
Yeah, right, this is
definitely
tyranny.
a bit of
Yeah, it's
tyranny.
like, this is justified.
But again, as we saw with like the criticisms of the Tarquins, it's these young nobles, the young nobility, who are actually quite enjoying this new system. Because they get to run around
Yeah,
stabbing people.
Yeah, none of these laws on the tables don't go around randomly killing and taking stuff.
Funnily enough, not. But
Oh,
yeah,
really?
Livy
No.
does leave us with this little comment.
So, corrupted by such bribes, the young nobility not only declined to oppose the lawlessness of the Decemvirs, but they openly showed that they preferred their own freedom from all restraints to the general liberty.
Right, okay.
We're all right.
Yeah. I can do what I want. I'm all right with that.
Yeah, now get off the end of my knife.
Jesus. So this is now just a gang of full-on tyrants.
Yes.
They are just doing whatever they please.
If you look up tyranny, it's that.
They can't just do anything they like.
Well, not entirely.
Well, who's going to stop them?
Well, they do need the Senate in some instances.
Yeah.
Right,
so
okay.
If someone invades,
Okay.
absolutely.
So would they, presumably, if they went to war, would they still have a master of horse and a dictator? Or
We're not sure.
okay,
But yeah, so if someone invades, they need the Senate.
okay, is that it?
Yeah.
In that one instance, that's what they need the Senate for.
Guess what happens?
They go to war.
Someone invades.
Yeah, someone invades.
Is this someone new, or is this the 200-year war that's still
No,
going
this
on?
is a different war.
Okay, this is a new
time, it's the turn of the Sabines to attack Rome.
Okay, were they not integrated into Rome at some
Yeah,
point?
but that seems to have gone
Right, okay.
to the wall. They attack Roman lands and start plundering and so on, and the Decemvirs called the Senate to raise an army.
But
This is how this whole thing started.
Yeah.
yeah. But there's a problem, because the Senate don't turn up and the plebs refuse to enlist.
Yeah, like I said, this is exactly what
Yeah.
led to this in the first place.
Yeah, but this is a different Appius. This one, Crassus, he then threatens the Senate, at which point enough of them do turn up to pass a law.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they're only allowed to discuss one thing, which is military action. Nothing about their rights or anything like that. Just fighting in a war. That's it.
They are being attacked, so one fair point, but
Yeah.
also no, let them talk about other stuff.
No, but I mean, this refusal to address the obvious tyranny doesn't go well in the Senate, as Livy chips in.
So, Valerius Potitus, is that right?
Yeah, why not?
Created a scene by demanding that he should be allowed to speak on the political question.
That's a very nice way to put it. The political
question. And if that isn't enough,
Marcus Horatius Barbatus, that's a good name, showed himself an equally determined opponent, called the Decemvirs 10 Tarquins, and reminded them that it was under the leadership of the Valeri and the Horatii that monarchy had been expelled from Rome. It was not the name of king. It was not the name of king that men had now grown weary of.
Right, okay.
do you want to do that face again that you just pulled?
I don't think I can. So calling them 10 Tarquins, that's surely like...
That's pretty bad.
That's
Is that the equivalent of calling like a leader Hitler?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's just about as bad a thing you can say.
Yeah, how did that go down?
Not well.
Yeah, I mean, he's not wrong.
It's not wrong, but that's the thing with tyrants. They don't like you pointing it out. But despite this opposition and calls for a change in government, the majority of the Senate ultimately fall into line and do what they're told.
Is this because they have sharp things pointed at them?
Yes, probably. And ultimately, once again, the people are drafted into the army to defend Rome.
How's that go down?
Not well.
I didn't think it would.
So Livy
Over to
says,
Livy, yeah.
the commanders were certainly at fault in having made themselves objects of hatred to the citizens, but otherwise the whole of the blame rested on the soldiers, who, to prevent anything from succeeding under the leadership of the Decemvirs, disgraced both themselves and their generals by allowing themselves to be defeated.
Oh, how dare they?
Shocking.
Quick, fight for your country. Why?
Yeah, why would I?
Can
I
get
don't
stabbed by
like my
them or
country.
stabbed by you. I'll take my chances with
So
them.
do we know what that means? Did they just not fight and all died? Did they run away?
They
Or-
Well,
just did a lot of running
Yeah,
around.
so
Right, okay.
the Romans retreat into the city and guards are now stationed along the walls.
Okay. So are they under siege now?
Well, not really, because the Sabines, it seems, they're quite happy to just run off with what they've nicked.
Okay.
They're just like, all right, we thought there was going to be more of a fight than that, but all right, cheers for the cows and stuff.
Yeah, and Rome is now kind of stuck under the tyranny of Appius Crassus and the second Decemvirate, who certainly now consider themselves kind of a permanent fixture.
Okay.
So again, the obvious issue that all of the Decemvirates raises is the idea of continuity and change. How far has the demand for plebeian rights changed? They keep asking, and they keep not getting.
It's as if Rome's got this kind of rotten core, isn't it? That ultimately, it looks like it's getting better. And you get the odd individual that wants to make some kind of change.
You've got your few consuls and people who try to do nice things.
But then this kind of feeling of there should always be someone who's quite tyrannical and autocratic and all the rest of it in charge never goes away. And that basically just stays there all the time.
Yeah, you've also got the issue that consistently throughout this, the patricians and the Senate really don't want to give up any inch of their privilege.
No.
Plebs can't be in the Senate. No. Plebs can't have their money off. No. You can't marry into the patricians anymore. No. They're really kind of pulling the ladder up from the plebs.
They've set up these barriers and they're not moving them.
It's as if sometimes they don't mind having this facade of equality or a bit of equality, but then it just kind of gets taken away.
Yeah, I mean, if we're looking at this idea of has it changed or how it's been quite consistent, this demand for reform. So under the kings weren't good enough, so they had the republic, and then the consuls weren't good enough, so they had the tribunes. Then the tribunes weren't good enough, and they had the decemvirates, and then the decemvirates
are horrid.
Yeah.
It's just going round in circles, isn't it? It's like a continuous cycle.
Yeah.
It just never really changes. It just keeps repeating
Well,
itself.
the specific demands change all the way through. We want some recognition in the Senate. Fine, you've got tribunes. Actually, we want some guys who can
do
something. Yeah.
All right, you've got the decemvirs. We don't like them. They're really mean. So the demands change, but ultimately the progress is continually the same.
Yeah.
The plebs are still getting
a real rough deal.
Yeah.
That's one way to put it. I was going to be a bit more blunt, but yeah, the plebs are still getting shafted.
Yeah.
Yeah, but once again, like they're repeatedly, as you say, shafting the plebs, and then it's like, oh, someone's kicked off with us. Come help us out.
Well, yeah, that's the other thing. It seems like maybe if people weren't continually attacking Rome, things might have been different, or whether these tyrannical figures use the invasion and the threat of war to basically get through what they want to do. I mean, you can argue both sides. The war does not help the plebs at all.
Because they're the ones who do all the dying.
But it also does bring about more opportunities for tyranny. And yeah, the Romans are obsessed with tyranny. But now you know why.
Yeah, but they don't seem ever to do anything about it.
They do. They just do the wrong thing.
Well, yeah. But I mean, so what? How long were the first Decemvirates there? Was it?
It's about a year.
So they had a year of a good actual system of government,
Yeah.
and then it just went back to old habits.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
What do you think comes next, James?
The third Decemvirate.
So there you have it. I'll look at the first and second Decemvirates. Thank you for listening. We hope this has been useful. Leave us a comment below, and until next time, goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.